about the concrete versus,
Concrete cheaper than asphalt. That seems to be a common question. That's what it is. Yeah, we'll definitely take that.
all right, I got 5 o'clock, I'm gonna call the meeting to order and proceed with the routine business. Open Meetings Act is posted on the northwest wall, as always. You can search that at your pleasure. And Lisa, would you go ahead and call roll?
Dustin,
Yes.
Sean,
Here.
Brad,
Yes.
Vance.
So everybody's present and accounted for. Would you join me in the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. Move on to item 2, consent agenda. As always, you can approve all items with one motion, or you can address them individually.
Approve the consent agenda.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Roll call roll.
Sean,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Vance,
Yes.
Dustin.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Move on to item 3, appointments, mayor reports. We don't have any appointments tonight. I did go through the list today. I'm getting a little behind, but not too bad. I think I'll get caught up in June. Got a few to reappoint and get caught up on. As far as the mayor's report, I'd like to mention I had a couple visitors this week. One mention that kind of goes back to what you brought up last month, I think, Brad, about they'll be doing work on the old Highway 7 and might be an opportunity to get some material for city street repairs and give us some ideas, getting some ideas on how to follow up on that. We'll have the street guys follow up on that. And the other one I had a call about citizens concerned with vehicles cutting through the park. And I haven't had a chance to go down and look yet, but I guess there's vehicles cutting off the Cowboy Trail, which of course they're not supposed to be driving on the Cowboy Trail, but cutting through the city park and by the ball fields, and there was concerns about accidents, and I think talked to Jimmy about it. He's tried to deal with it, and they pulled his posts out, and so I think what we'll do is get the park board together and come up with maybe a traffic plan for down there and get something more permanent to control vehicle traffic. Especially, I guess some of them are cutting by where the pond is being put in, and we don't want to get that started with vehicles going through there if we can help it. So we'll see if we can get a little better traffic control plan in the city. So that's all I've got to report. And we'll move on, no public hearings tonight, so we'll move on to old business. An item from last month, Bill Jeffers wasn't able to make it, but I think he's here tonight. Wanted to discuss the vacant property registry.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm Bill Jeffers,
thanks for coming.
and I wanted to find out the information about is it a fee or a tax or whatever for the vacant properties, and I wanted to know the number of vacant properties we're talking about. I have several. I'm a property owner, taxpayer, and businessman here in town, so I would like to have some information. I object to the fact that you have a 6-month fee because I don't see that, I've had property here for 40 years, and I don't see that I can complete or do my property work, which I'm working on constantly, in a 6-month period. And I would like to know what the goal is of the city, trying to, whether they want to eliminate the property or whether they want, I don't know why they are addressing me.
Well, I guess I could say they're not addressing you. The city is addressed in general, vacant properties. I don't know, Lisa may be able to share numbers better than I, but there was many letters went out to folks.
Yeah, the first round of letters we sent a year ago, there was 56 letters that were sent.
56?
56.
Okay, that's interesting, I had no idea it would
The
be that number.
second round, there was 35. Because some didn't meet the criteria the second time around after the city council had amended some of the provisions that made for a qualifying vacant property. And some had already responded and had either rented the property or listed it for sale or fixed it up or whatever. So it had to be essentially.
Well, I have several properties, and it's difficult for me to address. I've been working on these properties for years, and I've had properties for years, and I don't believe I've had any complaints as far as the maintenance on the properties, because I do regular maintenance, and I do regular repairs on the properties. And my goal is to fix up all of the properties. I have quite a few rentals, and I keep my rents reasonable, and I have low-cost housing, so I'm doing a good job for the city is providing properties. So it seems to me that I would like to know what the goal is of the city to, if they don't want me to have the property and run my business with the rentals and do it in a, I think I'm doing it in a timely manner, although it takes years to work on places. And I've got a ranch outside of town, and the house was built in 1900. They probably spent 10 years building it, and it was a wreck when I had it, and I've spent 30 years trying to fix it up, and I'm still living in it. So a lot of the houses people would think are not restorable are restorable. There's and especially with the construction costs that we have and the problems that we're having for as far as small businesses even making it. The construction cost to refurbish these houses has doubled in this last year, and that's hard for a person to address because I see the prices coming back down, but they're not coming down fast enough to where I want to go out and make a bunch of purchases and put a bunch of money into my property that I can't get the money back out of. And I have no desire to really eliminate my properties, but I just put them all up for sale. So they're up for sale right now because I don't want to have, I don't understand a fee. When my taxes are $100 a year, I'm getting a $250 fee every 6 months. And there's no way I can address these houses and my houses are not a nuisance for the town.
Well, you ask about what are the goals. I think that's certainly one of the goals is to not have vacant properties reach that nuisance level, which is another level on our code list. So that's one goal. Another goal is to, provide housing where it's available or where it's feasible. There was something you said I was going to get on, but it'll come to me eventually. I don't know if,
Well, most of my property has been rented out or rented out recently. With this last cold year, I've had several people that have done a lot of damage to the property. If they get in there and the pipes freeze, or if their heat goes off, or if they don't pay their bills, and a lot of people are behind on their rent. And a lot of people have, I've absorbed a lot of that. I've got several judgments against people, and I don't go after them for the judgments. It's just, I'm a business person. I believe in Ainsworth, and I've worked hard here, and my property I don't believe is anywhere near a nuisance stage.
well, yeah, and if we've got a vacant, a letter on vacant property, it's not a nuisance. But and you reminded me of what I was going to say. It's that we have been working with people. The idea is to get a plan in place for what is your plan with that vacant property? Are you going to fix it up? And I think we've been fairly lenient in working with folks as if they come in and say, hey, here's what I'm doing, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. Our goal isn't to assess fines, our goal is to rehabilitate and improve properties.
Well, I'm 73 years old, I work 7 days a week, and I'm working on all my properties, and all the properties in Ainsworth, I love them all. I like the property that I have. I've had them for 20 years, or most of the property. I've had the popcorn factory for 30 years. I've had most of my property I've had since 1980s when I first came to Ainsworth. But, I don't want to be forced into selling the property, and I don't want to be taxed out of my business. And my business is, I have income from those properties. And I do have a hard time finding quality people for the properties that don't destroy the properties. And then a lot of times when you're trying to keep your rents low or reasonable, I don't believe in all the charges and all the rents and everything, the extortion of money, charging you as much as you can get. I believe that people need to be fair, and I've had people leasing my pasture and stuff like that for 20 years, and it's because I keep my rates reasonable. So, but when you do that, you don't have the extra income, so if you take a hit, then you've got to figure out how you're gonna pay for it.
Well, then certainly if somebody's living there, I don't know that it qualifies as a vacant property, so. I mean, if you have concerns on specific properties,
I think that's what I'd have to address, is each one specifically. I wanted to know the number of properties that were vacant. I had no idea. I thought I was the only one, and I thought, or somebody didn't like me or something.
Certainly, it's a citywide thing, and it's not trying to single
Well,
anybody out.
I'm pro Ainsworth, and I'm pro economical rentals and giving people a chance, and there's not any piece of my property that I haven't told the person that if they wanted to, I'll do whatever I can to fix it up, and if they take care of it, I'll make it, and if they want to buy it, I would sell it to them, and I would sell it economically so that they would be able to own their own house, because I believe in home ownership, and I don't understand in Ainsworth that so many people just want to rent or don't want to own a piece of property, and maybe it's because of the taxes.
Well, I guess my suggestion was if there's specific ones you have, that you got a letter on, that you have a plan for, like, yeah, come in and work, we'll work with you.
I appreciate that.
That's the goal. Anybody else have questions for Bill, or? All right, well, thanks for coming. Next item on the agenda is, again, old business, discuss and consider the law enforcement agreement with Brown County. Of course, this has been an ongoing thing. We had sent a proposal to the county. I think at their last meeting, we voted to not accept that tiered payment proposal that we had forwarded, and and they passed a resolution or whatever the county passes for the amount of $276,000, I believe, so. The council needs to make a decision if we want to accept that or go another route, or whatever your pleasure might be.
My opinion on it is, I understand where you're talking about paying based upon how many officers are hired, but I also look at it as a business person, that if I was to quote you a price, if the end product is gonna be the same, I'm still gonna, no matter if I got 3 guys there or 10 guys there, if the end product is the same, I'm still gonna want the number I quoted you. So I can see that point of view for them wanting their money, regardless of officers. I think that if the items can be addressed and handled with one less officer, but we're still getting the same outcome, I'm okay with the contract. And I personally, and the people, a lot of the people I've talked to, are not willing to settle without having the police force involved in town as well. It's just the county. So that's.
So, I guess I'm not sure what you mean by that.
A lot of people that I have talked to were for the contract because we didn't want to lose the police presence as like by the school and all the things, you know, that we may potentially lose if we don't agree. So that's where I stand.
I guess I understand your point about if you did a job at this and you complete that job, that's what you get paid. To me, this is more service oriented and I'm not sure you get the same level of service. If you're working 4 guys at overtime rates, I'm not sure you get the same services if you spread that across 6 employees. Just a thought.
I mean, it's a little bit different, that's just kind of my train of thought.
I understand.
I'm for the contract, so that's kind of the decision I've come up with for me, so.
We've heard, I've heard several deals brought up that, you know, this is Sheriff Geibler's first year, why are we hammering him on his contract, why are we being so tough on him in the sheriff's office? Actually, this contract is not with the city of Ainsworth and Sheriff Geibler, the city of Ainsworth, or the Brown County Sheriff's Office. This contract is between the city of Ainsworth and the Brown County. They're the one that actually pay the sheriff's department and their officers. We're just subsidizing Brown County, so this is not a contract between the sheriff or their office. So it's nothing against either one of those, I feel.
And to go back to the staff level, part of what we're adding to their job is the ordinance side of it. That would be part of their duties, if not for the city of Ainsworth. And we've seen historically, that's what takes a back seat when they're low staffed. Reasonably so. I mean, felonies should take priority over an ordinance enforcement, but that is part of what our needs are, and that is part of what takes a back seat when staffing is low. To me, a tiered system is fair because that's gonna be the first part that's cut when the hours are short. And it still gives the resources to go out and get that full staffing level that was indicated in the budget that have been approved in the past. At least as far as we can tell, it's gonna be sticking to that, but, the last meeting, that was one of the concerns, was you can't hire people without a contract. This gives the resources to go hire additional people.
You have any comments, Dustin, now, or you wanna wait, or?
To me, I don't understand why the county's not coming together. I mean, basically, the contract that you're offering is a tier deal. And you're giving them what they want with the officers, as long as they commit to them. But then also, I'm on, on the business side of things, same as Sean, hey, if you can do it with less people, as long as the coverage is there, people are being protected, then I'm good with it. But my point is like, I think we should give him a year and see what happens, see if he can do what he's supposed to do with whatever, however he wants his workforce to be. But, like if I hear, in the next year about how businesses have to have another person on speed dial when they have a disgruntled customer, then it's gonna be a whole different game for me. Because to me, I'm gonna give him a year to say what he can do, whether that's 4 officers, 5 officers, 6 officers, 10 officers. Because to me, we're giving him a ton of money, so there should be adequate coverage no matter how he does it. I'm not gonna tell him how to do his job. So that's my point. Like my daughter works at a coffee shop and it's by a drinking establishment, and they don't even call the sheriff when there's somebody impaired that's harassing them, because they know they're not gonna get the speedy response. And that really upsets me.
There's a lot of folks in the audience tonight. I assume some of them are probably here for this agenda item. Anybody have comments they'd like to share or questions for the council? Everybody's here for the golf?
Did you guys, and Andy's here, did you and Michael ever work, you guys had the disagreement the last meeting on what the city's required to do, and you had a difference of opinion with Michael, did you guys ever work that out or find any more information on what the city's actually responsible to provide, or did it just get left that you're agreeing to disagree?
We still have a disagreement at this point in time, basically, it's, that's certainly not uncommon when you have two attorneys, trying to take a
That's
look at
called job
statutes.
security.
Yeah, exactly, right, part of our monopoly, but, yeah, I don't think Michael moved up of his position, and we haven't moved up ours.
Yeah, I've looked at the statutes, Greg, again, the last 2 days reviewed them, and I feel they're fairly clear in saying that the city of the second class, which is Ainsworth, shall have the power to establish law enforcement. You know, it's a little wordier than that, but it says it has the power to. But it also says that the council, the city can determine the extent of that and as necessary. And so that, you know, it talks about a night watch, or I know some cities have code enforcement folks rather than law enforcement officers. You know, they're not credentialed, but they enforce codes. So I feel it's clear that the city has the option to do that. They have the power to do it, but it's not required.
You know, I'm wanting to throw something out there, at least retool what we've done in the past. I think a compromise is beneficial to both parties. But I think we've got to go based off what we've seen historically. We can have all the faith in the world moving forward, but that's nothing really to make a contract on, especially when we've seen historically some of our asks gets put on the back burner. I would be willing to authorize Mayor Palmer to sign an agreement with the county with the financial components being $215,000 for 4 officers and below, $245,000 for 5 officers, and the full ask of $276,000 at the 6 officer level. That increases from our last proposal, still gives a tiered system. I think that's short of demanding a certain number of hours or something like that of the department, which I don't think we want to do. I think that gives us some middle ground where, you know, if they're low staff, we're likely going to be low on service, in my opinion. And this gives some accountability for that staffing level relative to our service level.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
So were they open to it at all before?
I'm gonna tell you now, after sitting in the commissioners meetings, I'm gonna tell you that that's dead on arrival at the commissioners meetings. If you look at the contract that's being proposed, it's got an end date of the 12th, so it's null and void if it's not passed by both parties, this contract by the 12th. This is just coming from the commissioner meeting last week. You got a commissioner here that I'm sure can speak to that as well, but from sitting through that commissioner meeting, this same thing was proposed, and it was dead on arrival from both the sheriff and the county commissioners. I'd prefer you talk to the commissioner about what they voted with, but I'm just, from somebody who was there, I don't think that's flying.
No, I think Greg's statement is absolutely correct. I'm not one of the commissioners, but I've been at all the meetings and spoken with him as well, and I think his assessment there is accurate.
Mr. Bauer, do you have any comment, or like, can you help me out here a little bit on the county standpoint?
I can't speak for the other 2 commissioners, but to me, that the proposal that was just presented and seconded will be dead on arrival from as far as I'm concerned. We passed our resolution for the contract at $276,000, and I think that's fair. And I think that Sheriff Deibler made the comment that he would, regardless if he has 6, 5, or 4 officers, he'll pay overtime to make sure the needs of the city are met. And I take him at his word. Give him a year and see how it goes.
Personally, I would agree with you.
I think we need to give them a year.
I just feel if we do the 276 this year, a flat-out contract, next year, it's gonna go up, probably over 300,000. I'm just saying that for my own opinion.
Well, right now, to me, we're on the edge of, you know, right now, it's about a wash or break even to have our own police force. If they wanna go up, then that's a whole different ballgame for me. If they're not gonna, provide the services that we want and the protection that the citizens have been complaining to me about, then it's a whole different ballgame for me. You know, right now, we're just right at that breaking point, for me, anyway, that personal level. You know, I wanna give them a chance, I wanna give them a shot, I wanna, you know, not make this messy unless we have to, but if they're not, the services aren't being provided, and, or if it goes up, then we go down there, personally.
Of the business owners that I've talked to and the residents I've talked to, I've not heard a single person tell me they weren't in favor of us agreeing with the contract. They wanted the police force presence and everything. They don't want it to change. I mean, we say that it's because it's the county that, you know, we're obligated and things won't change, but they will. I feel. So I'm for giving them a year.
One of the comments I've heard are we pay how much and for what? You know, what does that spell out to get us? That's what feedback I've got. Not that they don't want law enforcement, just wait, it's how much and what does that get the city specifically? Because it is a large number for our budget.
And we do already pay into the county.
And that's what I heard a lot of comments, probably more than anything, that why do we pay twice? People in city limits would say, some of them say they pay twice for law enforcement. You know, I feel, myself too, I'd like to see us go into a contract with the county for law enforcement. That benefits both parties. I just can't see why the county won't come to the table and do some type of negotiation there. Seems like they're just gonna do this 276, take it or leave it attitude, and I'm not gonna go for that. I'm not gonna do that. I think there's room in there that can benefit both parties. So no, the tier deal gives them what they asked for at the last meeting, and so I'm there with that.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on this. It is a lot of money, and we've done a lot of research, looking at other communities around the state. And if you look at similar sized towns, Springfield, Nebraska, population 1582, they pay $117,000 a year. Stanton, Nebraska, population 1847, they pay $110,000 a year to their county for law enforcement agreement. Ainsworth's number is higher than anybody's, except for those communities that have their own police department. And then you're starting to get to, like you say, you're starting to get to about that number. So that concerns me a little bit, that I don't mind being a leader sometimes, but I hate to be the one that's paying the most. And I think we gave a pretty reasonable offer to them. But I would also like to be done with this issue. So. Any other comments, Councilman, before I call for a vote? Lisa, call the roll, please.
Brad,
Yes.
Vance,
Yes.
Dustin,
No.
Sean,
No.
Joel.
No. else wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the $276,000 per year with reevaluating after 1 year of service. Is that all you need in that, or?
I guess just authorize signing the contract.
I make a motion to authorize signing the contract of $276,000 for 1 year.
I'll second it.
Motion will second, any other discussion?
Well, based on the last one, I'm assuming this one's gonna pass probably in a similar fashion to the last one. We'll just ask one thing from the commissioners. You know, part of our issues over the last couple of years, we've seen that budget not get spent, and then now people are coming to the table that things are dilapidated and disrepair. We have zero oversight over that budgeting process for that department. I would ask that if we're putting these monies in and it's being claimed that these upgrades are needing to be made, that it's not just absorbed back into the county's general budget, because that does not sit well with the city. When we're paying our full ask for years, and then it comes back, well, this wasn't upgraded, this wasn't upgraded, and we've seen that 50, 80, 100,000 less than what was budgeted spent. So, assuming this passes, I would ask for some accountability, since we can't have it at this board level, that it's done at the county level, as a county resident too. Would ask for that. We're not opposed to supporting that department. They do a good job for the community. We just need some accountability, and we clearly can't get it from this level. So that's just my ask of you guys.
Appreciate that comment. Anything else?
Very reasonable comment.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and call the roll.
Vance,
No.
Justin,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Brad,
No.
Joel.
Yes. All right, moving on to the regular agenda. Discuss and consider a community survey. We got Amber Ross here from CNED. Amber, you wanna fill us
Yes,
in?
yep, Lisa, did you share copies with the guys?
Yep.
Okay, perfect, wanted to make sure that they got them. So, in preparation for some upcoming projects that I know are on your guys' docket, and I'm speaking to all of you, but my back is facing you guys, so please shout out if you have questions, I might miss it. The state is putting a renewed emphasis on ensuring that you have community participation in all of your projects and determining your community needs and those kinds of things. And so, in light of that, and knowing that you guys have some big things coming on your dockets that you want to address, CNED is just making the recommendation that you guys do another community survey. I know you did one in 2020, but that was 3 years ago. And so how have your community needs changed, and what are people talking about at the street? That's really what we want to hear. And so I worked with Lisa and folks at our office to put together the copy that you guys have seen. There were some formatting issues on those, and so we changed those, but none of the words changed, just a couple of the formatting things. And so for CNED, we're putting a really big emphasis on broadband right now. That's something that we're really focusing on, and so we threw a few questions to address that in on there as well. That might not be something that you guys are really focusing on specifically in Ainsworth, but it is something that we're focusing on at the regional level, and so we just wanted to put that in there as well. Lisa mentioned a lot about streets, and I know that's a big hot topic for you guys right now, so I tried to put some emphasis on those as well. In your reviewing, did you guys see something we can still add, we can take off, we can change as needed, and if this is not something you guys are interested in, I completely understand that as well. So, there will be an online part of it. We use SurveyMonkey, and so you guys folks will be able to submit answers online, but then Lisa will also have copies of it here at the office, and people can do a paper copy. Lisa will mail those to me and I'll input them into the SurveyMonkey myself so that we can still use SurveyMonkey for all of the results and that kind of stuff as well.
Is this one of the surveys, is this the type of survey where you need to have so many percent back that was sent out?
We don't have to, no, because this is not going to go to that income qualification stuff. I mean, yes, we will have a certain number in our head that we're hoping to get back, but it's not like a requirement
It's
or
not a
anything like
requirement,
that. Mhm.
No questions?
The last survey was like just a card, wasn't it, or not very long, and you guys struggled trying to get those back and turned in. This thing's a Bible, it's not, it's a little long.
We did a pool and park survey a couple of years ago that was a couple of pages long. I can't remember off the top of my head what the respondent number was,
It-
30 some, I
Yeah,
think, or
but
something.
the one you needed for the for
LMI. We had to go door to door.
yeah.
And that's hard, and that's, that won't be a necessary
I
requirement.
understand that, but I wouldn't, if you go with something this long and involved, I wouldn't expect very many returns, but that's my opinion, because I won't fill one out. I'm not gonna waste my time filling one out. But that's,
Well, it's relatively low cost at the end of the day, right? I mean, post it on Facebook page.
Yeah, and we'll do up QR codes and marketing stuff for you guys to have available to pass out and post on Facebook, and, all of that is just,
So it's not like we have money invested in mail orders and that sort of thing.
There's no required number. Okay.
so, I mean, like I said, we'll have a number that we would like to see just for authenticity's sake, but even the state won't even see that, so, you know, it's more of a, we gave the community the opportunity to discuss, and if they don't take it, it's kind of on them too. It's kind of one of those give and takes scenarios, so,
Kind of like any public hearing or town hall. I mean, you want to solicit feedback. If people don't attend, then.
So if I fill mine out and Ron doesn't fill his out, then
we're
it doesn't
50/50.
matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
it's a wash, exactly.
So you
So,
have an administration fee on this?
no,
No fee?
it's just part of you guys, or part of the city being a part of the district, including membership.
So we don't need to take any action, or do we need to?
Just some sort of motion that says you want to do it. I'm not gonna send it out on your behalf without making sure that you're all on board with it.
Just, I would move, to continue to move forward with the Ainsworth Community Survey through CNET.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? Call roll.
Vance,
Yes.
Dustin,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Brad.
Motion carries unanimously.
Excellent, thank you guys. I will, I'll work with Lisa to get that out and then, it'll be out, live for a couple months and, at the end of it, or toward the end of it, I'll make sure to give you guys a report on everything in here. So-
Amber, do you do that just for residents, or do you do that for people who own the
No,
property?
it's surrounding area, so anybody that really comes to Ainsworth, for school, for business, for whatever, entertainment, anybody can take it, so. Alright, thanks guys.
All right, next we discuss and consider the bids received for work on the North Main Street project and consider approval of contracts. For Olson, we've got Jess here. Jess, you got something you'd like to say?
Yeah, this is what we call the, I guess, the North Main Street project, north of the highway. This is the rebid of what we did a couple months ago where we did not get any bids at all. We kind of reached out heavily, I guess, the contractors, discussed some of the issues. Ended up kind of adjusting some of the completion dates, straightened a few things out with some of the funding to make sure that everything was okay with that, extending those out. So we were able to receive 2 bids. We got one back from Myers Construction out of Broken Bow, as well as a second from Rutchins out of Tilden. Rutchins is the ones that I think is working the time right now. Both very reputable. Rutchins has done a ton of work up here, and I've done a lot of work with Myers as well, good contractors. Myers actually came in with the low bid, 2.3 million for the base bids of bid section A and B, and then we did have an alternate bid, which would have, the base bid was bid to replace the 3 blocks with asphalt. The alternate bid was to utilize concrete instead of asphalt. So the alternate bid actually came in about $160,000 cheaper to do concrete. So obviously my recommendation would absolutely be to go with concrete, even if it was maybe a little bit more expensive. So that puts them at a low bid of like 2.177626 and some change. It would be our recommendation, I guess, to award it to Myers Construction for this contract.
What was Russians?
Rutchins was
2,510,000.
2.2510. Sorry, I pulled that so I can see it. So yeah, about a $350,000 difference.
When's the last time you saw a concrete that come in cheaper than asphalt?
I don't know, it's actually been fairly competitive lately. It kind of really depends on, you know, if you had a concrete batch plant right down the road, if the DOT's doing some work, that really makes a difference. If they don't, it can make it opposite difference, I mean, it can be twice as expensive. Even the concrete's pretty, you know, it's a little bit more expensive than what we've seen, but everything's gone up now, so, just the actual yardage cost of the concrete is up double. So, yeah, I mean, with the fluctuation in the oil, it's kind of been a little bit higher, but yeah, you're right, most of the time asphalt's a little bit cheaper. So this is a very good thing.
So, move to accept the bid from Myers Construction for the North Main Street project, the bid being the alternate one bid with concrete for $2,177,626.44.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept the low bid. Concrete option. Any other discussion? Going to call the roll?
Dustin,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Vance.
Motion carried unanimously. All right, next we got an update, retail update from MPPD. We have Rich McCormick here from Columbus on MPPD.
I don't know if I have copies for everyone, certainly not for everyone, but maybe for every table. This is a great turnout. I was kind of hoping everybody was here to see me, but kind of hoping not, just in case it was bad. I'm sorry. You bet, you bet.
Good news and bad news. They're probably not here to see you, but it's not bad.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, and if you guys can't hear me or something, just holler. Typically, not a problem. My voice carries very well usually. As Mayor said, my name is Brittany Koenig. I'm a little more local than Columbus, though. I actually live south of Ewing, and I work in Norfolk most of the time. I'm the account manager for the city of Ainsworth. You guys are my westernmost community. My easternmost is Arlington, and then there's 15 others in between. I also have about 36 or 37 large commercial and industrial customers. My primary role is to serve as the main point of contact between the city, the large customer, and MPPD. I may not have all the answers, but my job is to help run it down. You guys here in Ainsworth, though, are pretty lucky. You have Lee Conroy and Chris Lammers here, and Todd Keller comes from Bassett. So you have a nice group of three. So my goal here tonight is just to give you a brief update on Ainsworth specific information NPPD overall information, and then just kind of get a feel from you about how we're doing and anything we could do better. So we'll go ahead and start with the front. Ainsworth has a professional retail operation agreement with us, or what we call the PRO agreement. For that agreement, we collect and remit lease payment to you. What that means is the city of Ainsworth owns the distribution system, and we maintain and operate it for you. For that privilege, that's where the 12% lease payment comes from. So in 2022, we collected and remitted a total of $293,916.50, which was paid to the city of Ainsworth. I believe that goes into the general fund and you use it however you need to, your budget. We also collected and remitted $29,047.97 in city sales tax to Ainsworth. $29,047.97.
Is that all part of your copy?
It is, yeah.
I'll sign one.
There you go.
Or you can even have
Instead of
mine when I'm
having
done.
to write it all down.
Now, state statute says that if we're collecting revenues in the corporate limits, we have to pay a gross revenue tax. So we collect and remit that in the amount of $115,619.97, which is paid to Brown County. Brown County then turns around and disperses that to taxing entities. I do not know what the percentage of that is, but you should see some of that as well. Around towns, we've made improvements. All of our retail communities have been converted to LED street lighting. The wattage is significantly less than the old mercury vapor and high pressure sodium. And most communities see around a 12 to 15% savings. So that's a pretty good thing. We also have AMI meters, that's advanced metering infrastructure. That allows us to read meters without sending anyone out to read meters. When people call for a move-in or a move-out, we are able to get that reading. A disconnection, a reconnection, all of that type of thing, we're able to do remotely, which frees up our technicians to do other work. So that's been a good thing. Rolling trucks gets expensive, and we're very, very conscious of that. We also have energy efficiency incentives, and those are available to everyone. The city of Ainsworth, any businesses, and residential customers. Anyone can apply for a fitting incentive. In the city of Ainsworth, $6,990 was paid to customers in energy efficiency incentives. That's a pretty good number. I can't break it down any further for you, obviously. That would divulge information that I can't give, but I can at least give you the total, so nearly $7,000. And in a community that size, that's great. So it's really good to hear that people are taking advantage of those. We also work with other providers in the way of telecommunications and fiber to help with connectivity. So we're doing our part to be sure that rural communities are connected to the rest of the world. I know just where I live, that's gonna be great someday when we get our fiber. We also want to be sustainable now and into the future. We have a net zero carbon goal of net zero by 2050. Currently, we're sitting at just a little over 56%. If you look at the bottom in that little chart, you'll see where our energy mix lies. You can see 42.3% is nuclear. As you know, that is a carbon-free generating resource. Right beside that is coal. Whether you like coal, whether you do not like coal, we do operate one coal-fired station out west in Sutherland. It's called Gerald Gentleman Station. We get the coal from Wyoming. The transportation cost is lowered because it's right there. It's also lower carbon coal, so that's a very good thing. And it happens to run very efficiently and effectively in total bus bar costs, which helps keep costs low. Overall general NPPD, in retail, which is where the level you are served at, we hang our hat on three things, and that's rate stability, reliability, and relationships. Reliability, our system tests extremely well. We're in the top quartile for reliability performance. Yes, sometimes Mother Nature wins and we have outages. That's just absolutely true. Where we excel, we feel, is by getting the power restored as quickly as possible. The one thing about having NPPD as your provider is if there is something that cannot be handled here locally by the group of three, They make one phone call, they've got a crew coming from wherever, be it Shadron, be it O'Neill, Plattsmouth. We will mobilize within, well, sometimes minutes, but within an hour or so, we can get people on the road and have them headed here to help. So we're very proud of that. We also provide mutual aid when we can. You'll see we have 93,000 customers at the retail level. That customer is considered a meter, so that's residential, commercial, and industrial. We operate in 84 of 93 counties, 79 communities, so you guys and 78 others just like you. NPD employs 1,900 people who will work for you every day. We have over 5,000 miles of transmission lines, nearly 3,000 distribution mile lines, and 30 generating facilities that produce 3,265 megawatts of power. So that's a little bit about us as far as the reliability issue. We have strategic goals, 5 of them specifically. I already talked about the carbon-free goal. Rate position and cost control. It's been a big, big deal for us. We want to improve our alignment and relationships with customers. We can give you all the great things that we think you want. We have a mobile app that's up at the top there. You can do all kinds of great things with it. We can do all sorts of things, but it doesn't mean a thing if our customers aren't in lockstep with us. So we want to hear from you. We want to hear from all of you. We want to hear what we do well. We want to hear what we don't do so well, so that we can provide your power well into the future. It's a big deal for us. Public power, we feel, is the best model. We don't have shareholders. We have stakeholders, and that is all of you in this room. So it means a great deal to us that we are able to provide you outstanding service. We want to transform and innovate our business. We are taking steps to be more lean, agile, make decisions more quickly, get things done more quickly. And we want to build upon workforce engagement. Engaged employees are good employees. So that's one of the things that is a big deal for us. We train our employees very well. We have a strong emphasis on safety, and we like to think that we do a good job. Last, I'll touch on affordability because that's near and dear to everyone's heart. This year marks the 10th year in a row there has been no overall rate increase. I am proud to say we're going to make 11th. So we're not going to propose a rate increase for next year either. Beyond that, I think that that's a huge thing, considering we've had a pandemic, we've had supply chain issues, inflation, and everything else. So to be able to hold for yet another year is something we are extremely proud of, and that's cost control. That's where the cost control comes in. We believe every dollar we spend is a dollar our ratepayers have to pay. So we try to be judicious with your money. The last chart we'll talk about, if you look at, now this is overall averages of all rates. In the United States, it looks like about 11.09 cents per kilowatt hour. In the state of Nebraska, it's 8.83, and NPPD sits at 6.6 cents. Now, please no one call and say, hey, I want that 6.6 cent rate. That's very different. That's the average of all rates. I will tell you, June 1st through September 30th, you will be experiencing what we call summer rates. In the summer, we have irrigation load control, air conditioning load, and things like that we have to balance. As a result of that, our demand is higher, more fuel to power our plants. Therefore, the price per kilowatt hour is a little higher. So October 1st through May 31st, we go into winter rates where they are a little bit lower. So that's kind of how so this averages out across all of our rates. Does anyone have any questions or comments or anything?
You just pass along to folks, thanks to Lee and Chris did a great job. They've helped me out a couple times. We've got a 30-foot pole behind the radio station. And occasionally the wind will a little bit loosen our STL receiver that communicates with our tower. When that happens, we start getting crackling and popping and interruption, and they are kind enough to bring the bucket truck over up a 30-foot pole and tighten all that down for us, and so just pass along our thanks for them doing that.
Absolutely. I'm glad to hear that they're doing good things.
You know, the city of Ainsworth, I've lived here for pretty much all my life, and I've never see power outages here in Ainsworth, so knock on wood, but
Oh.
very, very seldom.
I'm just glad I'm here and I'm leaving and my mom's.
No, I'm just pretty pleased or amazed, you hear of other communities and stuff like that that have power outages. You just don't see it here, which is, you know, speaks highly of the infrastructure that is maintained here and the three guys that maintain it, so kudos to them.
Thank you, thank you.
quickly can you get crews here? We do have a storm coming tomorrow, don't we?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we do look at. Our Ainsworth crew is tied in with our O'Neill crew. Personal opinion, and I probably am extremely biased, but I've worked with them my entire career with NGP. I'd put them up against anybody. They're fantastic. And they're so good. They're highly requested. Everyone loves to have them come and help. So when we get called away on mutual aid, it is nothing to have Lee out of town, but we'll keep Chris back or we'll keep Todd back. We will never leave an area uncovered because someone has to stay here to keep the lights on. So don't ever think that we're just gonna abandon you if there's a big storm somewhere else. We would never do that. And that's what we would do if we all look at who got hit. So if there is a bad storm and if it is a statewide thing, it is not uncommon for us to have a call at 5 o'clock in the morning. Everybody gets on the call, talks about, you know, what the conditions are, how things are looking, and if we have to start sending crews, we'll mobilize right away. Does anybody have any other questions?
I got one.
Sure.
On the carbon free, maybe you said this, first we got a solar farm here.
Yes.
Is that the OLG?
That's your QLG, yes, that's QLG. We're sitting at 0.2%, so not a lot of
Just
solar.
getting started there.
Yeah, just getting started, yep. Yep. Okay, well, I will thank you both so much for having me then.
Thank you. I wish the law enforcement discussion could have been that chipper, but anyway. Moving on, would golf course folks be upset if we skipped down to the last item? I know they want to
The
get.
adjournment?
Go ahead.
What do you think, Rob?
Go ahead. You put us in a bad spot anyway after all that money you already gave away. Since we want to talk about budget.
Well, if it's all right, we'll go to the LBA 40 loan committee item. I know that some folks here would like to get going. So let's discuss and consider the recommendation of the LBA 40 loan committee. Business loan application number 2305 as a forgivable loan in the amount of $200,000 at 4% interest, secured by the real estate deed trust. With principal due 2020 or 2029. I don't know if Kristen wants to start off, or if somebody else wants to say something, or.
You guys all have copies of everything in your packet, correct? Anybody have questions?
Bush.
Did you catch that, Sean? I chopped up to the LBA 40 loan.
Okay, yeah, I did read about it.
No questions? Any comments? You want us to vote?
I mean, I guess I would go ahead and move to approve the recommendation, the loan committee and approve loan application 23-05 for forgivable loan in the amount of $200,000 at 4%, due June 1st, 2029.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Jill, you've got a question.
Is it confidential on to who this is going to or what entity it's for?
Yeah, we can say the business name. It's the Ainsworth Child Development Center.
Okay.
My main comment would be go to any event in the state or region and everybody's dealing with two things, that's childcare and housing. Thankful to the group that has put together the project and the progress they've made so far. I think they are way ahead of where anyone thought they'd be at this point. Kudos to them. I know they're not done yet, they are still looking for funds, I'll give them their shameless plug outside of what we're voting on tonight, but, we would encourage everyone to support it, it's very needed. Especially when you look at drawing outside talent into the community, people that especially don't have family ties here. Or what are they looking at? Where do I live? What do I do with my kids? And if they don't have that, especially if they don't have that family network, where do they go? We have the opportunity to have a facility right here on Main Street. They've done a lot of work, and I look forward to the completion of the project.
I'd also like to comment on it as an employer, it's a great thing that's going on because I lose a couple guys every week due to no child care that I really need on the job site, so good job.
Ready to vote? Go ahead and call the roll.
Sean,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Vance,
Yes.
Dustin,
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. All right.
One real quick, so the parameters of that are basically, there's 5 years with no payments. Till June 1, 2020, and at that time, when the payment would start to come due, it would be up to the council, but still operational, to vote to forgive the amount. Is that when you say forgivable loan, or?
I think the intention of the loan committee's recommendations was, it would be a forgivable loan structured over 6 annual payments and forgiven once June 2029 is reached, and things are still in operation, if you will.
So you'd be forgiving a portion of it each year?
Annually.
Okay, gotcha. 1/6 forgiven each year. Okay, thank you.
All right, next item is the golf course report, building repairs and budget updates. Grace, you wanted to?
He's sick.
He's sick. Sick,
Yep.
okay.
But the rest
I didn't
of
think
the
I
board's
saw him.
here. The rest of the board's here.
Yeah, anybody who wants to.
I don't care.
I mean, basically what we're doing is, and Sean can speak of it, because we had him with his company come out and take a look, but the sun area of the golf course clubhouse, it's in bad shape. So what we've done there was had him and another contractor come look at it, basically all but removing it and replacing it, you know, pulling the windows, new windows, installing, and we're even saving the old steel and putting it back on, replacing all the windows. There's a little step down in the facility once you go in from one room to the other, you know, kind of fixing that up. So what we're looking at is, and we don't know, like you said, till we tear into it, but you know, that project right there could be anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 or more, just depending on what we need to do to fix this up. And just little things like the increase of fertilizer, our rent went up again on the, from the airport authority or whatever for the rent. It went up from $1,800 to $2,600 this year. Fuel, everything, you name it's just going up. So what we were wondering is, we're asking is, right now our budget is $15,000 per year, and we were seeing if we could bump that up to $25,000 for the purpose of that. What we generally use that fund for is all sales tax items that we could, like for fertilizer, grass seed, things like that. But if spill over, if we have any of that left over at the end of the season, we could potentially use it for things like this or any other items. So that's kind of our ask. Am I correct on that? Is there anything else?
Well, the 25, we'd like the budget to be about to 25,000 if that's at all possible,
That's
just to
kind of what we're
cover
asking.
our costs and stuff. But then we'd also, technically it's a city park. The golf course is a city park. And it needs, I mean, we need help taking care of it too. We try to take care of it for the city. But that room is gonna fall off if we don't do something with it. Like that wall is gonna go in.
For those that have not been out there, I think Joel's been there and quite a few people. You can walk up to the southwest corner of the building and move it. So, I mean, your 2x4s, your studs, your sill plate is more than generally probably rotten. I mean, you can move it. The glass that we're gonna wanna replace. It's 2 pane and it's fogged up and stained on the inside, you cannot clean it. So it's getting worse and
not
worse, so you
sealed.
can't see out. And they're probably 1960s model, I mean, so they're not all of that energy efficient. So that, I mean, Vance has been out there, he knows kind of what I'm talking about, Joel, yeah, it's in dire need of some replacement. We were talking last year about it, but then the care center come up and we just figured he had a big enough problems with the care center last year.
I think we actually last year had a bid to just remove and replace on that deal, and it was
$90,000.
$90,000.
to do that. So we looked at this, and like Todd said, by moving it until you start tearing into it, you don't know how bad that is. I mean, it might be to that point to where once you start tearing into it, that's where you're at, you're rebuilding. But anyway, so.
I can attest to the fact that if something's not addressed this year, then it's gonna be a complete wash by next year. Then it will have to be
Isn't there a
completely rebuilt. I mean, completely new.
Have you talked to, have you looked into any grant fund? I mean, it is city-owned ground, but it's on.
I mean, that would be, is there something that you
Well,
would
I don't
suggest?
know, because
mean,
I guess it's the first I'm hearing.
No, yeah, I
I'm
mean-
personally hearing about it, so I'm trying to think.
You have Kristen right there.
Maybe Game and Parks.
Line you up with whatever.
Typically,
Also
there's
in
parks and rec
parks,
funds
We've
available.
tried Game and Parks before on some stuff, and they used to be pretty good at it, and the last thing, they've changed where golf courses are kinda out on it.
What about like the Brown County Foundation or any of those, do they help with any of that?
I mean, foundation would be, I can't speak for the foundation, so I don't
I just don't know what all kinds of things they help with.
It would definitely be within ask. We could also look at tax credits.
I think it's whatever.
I mean, we could, I'd need some time to look at it, but we could maybe look to see if there's something out there.
Yeah, I mean, any help, like I said, it's, if we're gonna keep the place.
Because when you start talking that kind of money, I guess I just think infrastructure wise, you know, you can spend a lot of money on a repair, but maybe you need to, if there's funds available, maybe
Right.
you can do something a little bit better. I don't know.
So that's kind of what we're asked, kind of two asks, I guess. There's one to help repair the facility, and then maybe try to bump our budget up.
That was gonna be my question, any idea how, has it been 15,000 for the golf course for eons,
So
or?
I've been
It went
here
from
8
10 to
years.
15.
It started out at 7,500.
That's right.
And then it went from 7,500 to 15,000. 7,500 was for general purposes of fertilizer, things like that, that we could run through the city without having to pay sales tax. That's where the 7,500 was used primarily. And then wages started going up and things got tight out there, and so the other 7,500 at that time was put in to assist with wages.
Do you remember about?
I don't
10
remember.
It's been,
It's,
Doug was still on the council, so.
I'm gonna say, it's been 15 since I've been on the board, and that's
It's
at
been,
least 5 years.
I don't think there was anything initially, the 7,500 came in since I've been back, so that's after '08. And I wanna say that was in place for a few years. What was happening was we couldn't find anybody to be the superintendent, because you couldn't pay them enough to get somebody there. They came back, it's been numerous years, went from 75 to 15, 15 for a long time.
I was thinking, you know, inflation could
Yeah.
be reasonable. to-
Yeah, it's been 15 for a long time.
Well, geez, if you doubled it last time, you could double it this time, right?
yeah, the
West Plains Bank, West Plains.
post-COVID hurt, you know, because everything's gone up. You know, wages, fuel,
Fertilizer, fuel.
fertilizer, everything.
How many tournaments do you have a year?
Oh, there's what, about 10?
How many what?
Tournaments.
12 or about 12.
About
Yeah,
12.
usually about 12.
The summer fundraiser ones, yeah, for the hospital, girls basketball, sports, had them fundraiser tournaments.
I'm just saying, like, the more tournaments, it seems like the more people you bring into town, the more.
Mhm.
But you upset
Locals.
the locals that pay their dues, and then all of a sudden there's a tournament and they can't go out and golf.
Now, there's fine lines.
So, yeah, it is, it's a tough one.
What you really get pushback from is if you have more than one tournament on a weekend. We've had somewhere you've had a fundraiser tournament that gets put on a Saturday, on the same day there was already a Sunday tournament. You get pushback if the course is closed all weekend for tournaments.
That intense.
Oh, yeah. I figured that's how you hurt that. Not too hard.
I wish it was that simple.
I'm not for the end.
Budgetarily, are we, I mean, we've already set this huge budget, but do we have areas we might be able, as part of the park budget? Of course, when you're robbing from one to pay the other, it's.
Part of the reason for the golf course coming now is that you're coming up on next year's budget.
I'm gonna say that
They're not, and I may be speaking out of turn, they're not expecting you guys to come up with 15 grand out of this year's budget. They're here for next year. We need the
Is
help.
that true?
That's
Yes.
true, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
Okay,
need the
well-
help, and so we're trying to get the foot in the door this, right now, so you guys can start, as you're getting
Put it
ready
in your
to
budget.
put your figures together for the budget for next year.
that
We're
gives
just not
good
used to people
time
coming
to
in early,
explore.
Rob.
Pardon?
Well, and then if we can look into other
Wait,
options
see,
for the
yeah.
clubhouse
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah,
As far
but,
as
yeah, like
grants.
Sean said, the clubhouse isn't gonna probably wait another year. That we need to do
Well,
something
we're
about.
gonna Set our budget in September. I mean, I'm just thinking between now and then, we should have plenty of time to research if there are other sources of funds available that can help you with that project too.
Yeah, coming in July or August and saying, we'd like this done, doesn't work. This way it gives you guys some time to think about it and kind of prepare.
So you're not asking for any action tonight, you're just saying.
It's just kind of a.
Unless you've got extra money that you want to give us.
Yeah.
You already gave it away.
That's what
I
we're
know,
afraid
but
of.
we wanted to be earlier on the agenda.
You got, what did I guess, about 20 grand from your lease that you get with NPPD to what's.
And you got that boo-boo tower money that's just rolling in.
I guess NPPD is gonna raise rates and stuff now, right? There once you're 10 years, I guess.
Well, I appreciate you coming in early.
Yeah, me too.
And I bet we can find some
Oh,
money.
you can live in
There's looking at sources.
Yeah, like the.
Visitors committee, golf courses used in the
Yes.
past for promotion side will advertise, give them some money for them to help advertise tournaments. We've done that for, that's the county from the hotel taxes generated. It's a county court basically. So the golf course has gotten a little bit out of them for promotion. They've got two funds. They've got a promotion fund, which is strictly just to promote your area for people outside the area. And then they've got another fund that is for like basically tourism construction projects. So they put in a bunch toward the Veterans Memorial and things, but it's pretty broad on what they classify as a tourism structure, so that might be an application they can pursue.
And-
Taxes for a reason.
Yeah, and the course has used in the past ABC funds. We made application and were approved for some of the cement paths. And then the last one, it's been a number of years ago, we had to redo the well out there. And I don't remember dollar amounts, but before they had one well and it struggled to water the course in a timely fashion. And between, with the ABC funds, they were able to renovate the well, put in a bigger pump, and now they're able to run two sides at one time, where before they could only run certain stations, and it took a long time to get it all the way around the course. And I think that was about the last time ABC funds were used on it, so it's been a while.
Have they looked at Brown County Foundation at all?
I don't know that we've looked anywhere. I mean, this is
No.
good information to.
the crux of it is, it's a municipal golf course, it's owned by the city. And you guys own all the equipment, that's the way it was set up. You guys own the buildings, the equipment, the whole 9 yards. And the golf association operates it for you.
Politely telling us that our building's falling down.
There you go.
Yes, that's what we're telling you, man.
We're only gonna have about half of it by the end of the
Yeah.
summer. When that red storm comes through and our power gets knocked down.
Yes.
Didn't we just have a hailstorm going through or something?
The power didn't go out. Thanks, Brad.
Anything else? Are we good? We'll start looking for money.
I think we're
You've already
good.
started.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting some ideas from different people about maybe some
Yeah.
grants and the foundation, we did, years ago, we did get some funds from them to extend the greenskeeper shed. So, I think that was like 7,500 or 5,000 or something like that. But other than that, I don't think we've ever,
We'll always go back.
we've never done anything else with them. So, did you write all this down, who we go get money from?
I'm working on it.
All right, keep, City of Ainsworth.
City.
I guess if you find anything, Lisa, just shoot me email or something if you.
Yeah, I'll visit with you next week.
I think that's it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
I'd
you.
say thanks for coming in early. Avoid a crisis. I think we gotta jump back or move on to the next item, discuss and consider special designated liquor license for BCW Inc. doing business at Silver Circle Bar for advance on June 25th, 3 p.m. and at 2 a.m. on the 25th. Request to close the alley behind the bar from First Street to Second Street and Second Street and Woodward. I think this is kind of, annual.
Every year or something.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's here representing them, so. Anybody wanna,
I'll make a motion to designate, to authorize a designated liquor license for BCW Inc. doing business as Silver Circle Bar for a dance to be held June 24, 2023 at 3 p.m. and ending on June 25th, 2023 at 2 a.m.
Second.
you wanna close the
And the
line?
request for you to close the alley.
I'll second that too.
Second and second, motion and a second.
You ever have a motion to borrow my power too? Borrow my power.
Any other discussion? Go ahead and call roll.
Brad?
Yes.
Vance?
Yes.
Dustin?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Party on, motion carried unanimously. I think we've got everything leading up to Lisa's report.
So last month I told you that the Blight study would be done for this evening, and it is finished. There was a little snafu and some notifications of things, so that it will be now the June 14th meeting. There'll be a planning commission meeting at 4 o'clock, right before the council meeting, and they'll hear it at their meeting, and then you can hear it at your meeting.
Do you send letters out, Lisa, to everybody that they're in a blighted area when that's designated, or how do you do that?
I feel like that does not happen until after the fact.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, after, if it goes through and you designate areas, because you might want to do some pre-seasoning of people so that they don't get a letter that basically says they're in a blight, because I've seen that in other communities where people get really fired up if they get a letter that says they're in a blighted area, because they think their building's being topped, you know what I mean? Just one of those, you might do some public outreach ahead of that.
There's been some publications already in the newspaper and things, you know, about the hearings, so I just encourage people to attend. Bobby Pettit will be here to answer questions and go over it and speak to what it means, kind of dispel any misconceptions about the terms. The terms are not always,
Lighting and substandard.
yeah, they're not really the best
We could blame the golf course.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Tiff Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Looks like it after I get.
So I would just encourage anybody from the public, attend those hearings, attend the planning commission or the council hearings and learn about that. And if you have some feedback, obviously that will be heard at that time as well. We did attend the career fair. We had a couple of us staff. I had Steve Warnke from the treatment plant. Originally, we thought it'd be kind of fun to have the effluent available there to kind of show the students, you know, kind of the science behind. I think a lot of people don't really understand that, but the way the fair was structured, it didn't really allow for that sort of thing. But we did hand out a lot of flyers. Chopper was there with the sweeper and had some interest from some kids looking that over. So it was good. I think that we participated. And just a quick update on the ambulance barn property. You know, last month we talked about gifting that to the county. We looked into that a little bit further. It is going to have to be surveyed off. Right now, that's kind of sitting actually on 2 lots that are situated east and west, so it'll have to be resurveyed and replatted in order to do that. But I assume the council probably still want to move forward with that. I reached out to Niobrara Valley to get an estimate on a survey. The pool boiler will not arrive until June 9th. So if we open first week of June, which is what we usually do, weather dependent, it's going to be very cold. So we may kind of wait and see what the weather's going to look like, and if it's not exceptionally warm, we might wait until the boiler is installed before we open. But we haven't quite made that decision yet. We're kind of waiting for the outlook and to see what that's going to look like. And beyond that, Wendy's computer is deciding to die a slow death, and it's kind of a vital piece of equipment. So we're going to have to replace that. We do have an estimate from Applied Connected to replace that. It's within the budget, so we'll be working on that shortly. There was, if anybody has any questions, you know, what we've already talked about.
No questions? Well, thanks everybody for coming. We're going to adjourn at 6:17.